I'm excited to have a distinguished panel join us today, starting with John Thompson, CIO of Reiter affiliated companies. The best way to sum up John is him being a customer-obsessed leader. He has over 20 years of experience in delivering world-class operational, transformational, and technology strategies that drive business growth, profitability, and reputation. He's passionate about managing large, complex digital programs while leveraging IT to pragmatically achieve business outcomes and create new opportunities. Through his multinational and global roles in FMCG, utilities, and telecommunication sectors, he has a demonstrated track record of deploying scalable, efficient, and integrated business support models and digital solutions. He has developed deep insights on successfully delivering digital transformation initiatives, having successfully worked across diverse cultures, customer landscapes while living in and working in UK, India, Australia, and the United States, giving him the unique ability to successfully lead multinational programs and teams.
Thank you, Vinil, and good morning to you.
And it's always a pleasure to have a conversation. There's always those power-packed insights and valuable insights that I always take away from your conversation. So let's get this thing rolling with a broader question for you, John. Reiter affiliated companies, or RAC as we call it, is the largest fresh multi-berry producer in the world today, growing Driscoll's proprietary varieties for berries, a brand that has become an integral part of our breakfast ritual for most of us. Can you introduce your company and talk about the scale and complexity of the business operations at RAC?
Yeah, sure can. So RAC's a privately owned business, and we have operations across the globe. We have farms in Europe, predominantly in Portugal and Germany, in North Africa through Morocco. We then have substantial farming in the USA, in Mexico, central Mexico, and also Baja. We also have farms in British Columbia, up there in Canada, a small operation in Peru, and we're starting farming operations in China as well. It's a very interesting organization. We farm, as you mentioned, a lot of those berries that people tend to select for breakfasts or smoothies. So we grow 4 berry types. That would be strawberry, blackberry, raspberry, and blueberries. And a significant note to mention is that we only have one customer, and that's Driscoll's, who we provide all of our berries to across the globe. At our peak harvest, we would have in excess of 30,000 people working for us. So we're primarily a people business. Those people are employed to grow the most delightful and best looking berries for those consumers that ultimately eat those each and every day.
Fantastic company you have there, John, and some great perspectives on the scale of global operations you run there. As a segue to the earlier topic and extending some of the thoughts from there, it's interesting that RAC, like all food producers, has seen a sharp jump in demand for their product during the pandemic, which I'm guessing sure calls for quickly scaling your business operations. So can you speak a little bit about how you're looking at automation to scale some of those business operations quickly and efficiently across functions like your supply chain, workforce management, or customer experience?
Yes, certainly. Well, RAC have gone through tremendous growth for the past 20 years, doubling revenues and size every 5 years. And that's a trend that we aim to continue over the next 5 to 10 years also. We're now at a scale where we can't continue to do things the way we used to do them. And really, we have to look at opportunities to digitize that whole footprint. I mentioned before that we're predominantly a people business, and scaling operations to 30,000 people in the future to maybe 60,000 people would be a huge task for us had we continued with the same applications, same processes that were highly manual in the past. So we definitely have implemented a few projects this year that really has built some momentum in terms of digitizing that whole footprint to help us there with that scalability. We also focus a lot on value, and we have actually started to introduce RPA as well during that journey, and we've seen some huge benefits of that, which I'd like to talk a little more about later. And then finally, we appreciate now that I mentioned we have that one customer in Driscoll's whose consumers really go to the Driscoll's product or go to our berries because of that delight. So we're looking now at a lot more insight, a lot more IoT that we're deploying there so that we can actually manage those growing conditions to actually make sure that, and key to our mission at Reiter, which is that relentless pursuit to delight our consumers, but it's also to enrich our employees and the communities that they live in. And really, using the IoT, we can do a lot of that around those growing conditions, safe conditions for our harvesters, but also managing important resources like water and fertilization, but still getting those best, most delightful berries to the consumer as well.
Thanks, John. Those are some really great insights. One last question before I let you go. As you were mentioning earlier in the conversation, given RAC's critical need for accelerating some of the digital initiatives that you talked about to bring in business efficiencies, can you also talk about your strategies around how you prioritize, accelerate, and execute some of these initiatives while ensuring that the target outcomes are met?
Sure, and that's really important, Vinil. I've got sort of 4 or 5 things that I'd like to share with the audience, because when we start talking about IoT and RPA and digitization, they're all funky IT acronyms in terms that we all know and use every day. But to the business, and to certainly our business, which, you know, that people are farmers there, what does IoT mean to them? What even does the acronym mean? RPA, what does that mean to me as a person? Robot's going to be doing my job in the future. So it's really important. So the first thing I would say that it's really important, and something that my team and I did a year ago now at the start of the looking at that transformation journey for RAC, was really to get that business stakeholder ownership in place. And it built confidence from day one across the exec team. So I made sure that the exec team were all bought in from day one in terms of that transformation. And my real sort of key takeout here is that if the executive team are not bought in, or you don't get a business exec as a stakeholder for a particular project, then don't do the project, don't push it, don't try and do something because we as technologists think it's the right thing to do, and it probably is the right thing to do. We really need to get that business stakeholder behind that and leading that change across the organization. The second thing would be, and it's a slight take on the first one, that we involve business SMEs right from the start. So they felt empowered, they owned it, they really did own these projects, because we involved them in actually the even the pre-design phase around looking at opportunities with their business. It wasn't at any point in that journey that the business thought that we were imposing technology or owning or changing their business processes to get certain outcomes. So we got them to own it from day one, and throughout the project they actually pulled through. It wasn't IT or technology pushing those objectives. The third point, which really helped, is make sure you choose the right system integrator, one that lives your values. And we have some very strong values at RAC of honesty, fairness, and respect. And we chose a partner that really embraced those values too. And what we did is we had outcome-based contracts with an outcome-based contract with that partner. And we even put risk-reward criteria in the contract as well. And it made sure and enabled that we all achieved the outcomes we were looking for within the budget, within the timeliness that we were looking for. And that was really important, but to treat that system integrator as a true partner of the business. The fourth one, and we all try to do this in our normal projects anyway, but let's be really agile and try and deliver wins to the business in short, sharp runs. We, with our HR, a global HR tool that we rolled out, we chose not to roll out all of the modules of that HR tool. We chose the 3 core modules, and we rolled those out within 6 months. 6 months is a long time, but at least it gave the business some of those wins in 6 months, some significant wins. We upgraded our ERP. Our ERP, an upgrade, it's kind of a thankless task, really. But within the contract with our partner, we actually put clauses in there to actually say, well, whilst we're going through the testing and running the scripts, let's try and identify processes for the future that we could optimize. Let's look at those processes that we could automate and deploy our PA. So again, we built a phase 2 project whilst we were doing the upgrade, but it gave a lot more excitement to the business users who could see all this hard work through the upgrade. Was huge benefits thereafter in terms of standard processes across the globe, looking at automating a lot of those processes across the globe and giving them more time back to do other value things within their working day. So again, being very agile and thinking about the future. And then finally, it would be to communicate. And it doesn't have to be a lengthy report or a monthly update. Just, we were using a lot of Teams chat. I was sending updates to the execs, just a sentence or two. And I think in this new world, you know, having communication at the fingertips daily, hourly as things unfold, but as long as it's easy for them to consume. And we found that that worked really well. We did have our standard monthly steer goes, but that was then supported with general communications using simple things like Teams IM throughout the project. So those would be the sort of the 5 areas that we focused on. We're moving into a very big phase 2 in 2021, and we'll certainly be using those same priorities. We have also learnt a lot around our organization in terms of managing change, and some of that's not been easy for my team to manage and our business to consume. Change is huge for people, and we need to really focus on that. And as I said, it is all about our people, our staff, and ultimately the consumer. So those first 2 points around stakeholder ownership and getting the right people involved and feeling that they own it, that's just super critical, super critical. Vinil, thank you. It's been my pleasure, and enjoy the rest.